Hey Neil. Here I am, back at my fireside. And my pipe's gone out already. Happy New Year's Eve 2018. I'm smoking the beautiful pipe gifted to me by Uncle Phil's cellar. And in it, I'm smoking some gifted tobacco. Peterson's 2017 Christmas blend, gifted to me by Cobbett of the Shire. I'm a lucky boy. The generosity of people is, leaves me speechless, pretty much, really. How are we all doing? I'm drinking no beer. I'm drinking a bit of still cider. Why not, eh? Bring the changes. Not played any music because everything I wanted to play, I pre-checked it on YouTube music policies and it said no. So I'm not going to run the risk of doing a video, uploading it, and only for it to say you can't play it because it's copyright blocked. So no music tonight, I'm afraid. They do seem to be tightening up incredibly. Stuff that I'm sure I've played before without any problem. No chance now. Cheers. Happy New Year. I hope you had a great Christmas and that you have a happy new year, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I've never been one for New Year's Eve myself. Just doesn't really do it for me. I can't think of a single New Year's Eve, and I've been through the whole lot, parties, dinner parties, going out to pubs, clubs, the whole lot. Never one where I've really felt joyful. It's one of those things. I found a lot of the time it was all too much forced happiness, forced enjoyment. And I know that sounds a bit miserable, but that was the way I always felt about New Year's Eve. So my best ones have probably been like this one is tonight, spent on my own. And it really means nothing at all. The clock ticks over, you're into another year. And then I spend the first 6 months of the new year forgetting which year I'm in. I'm just getting old, Thanks for your response on my last video that I uploaded. It did seem to come out quite well, but what was I going to say? Oh yes, I forgot when I was testing out my new laptop, in other words, a very old laptop, that I got the editing software on the old one. Not just the editing software, but various saved bits like my intro. So that last one I put up, I just uploaded straight from my phone onto YouTube. No editing whatsoever. And this one will probably be the same. and I didn't like to download the editing software. I used Windows Movie Maker. But I knew with the RAM as it was on that old laptop, it would just freeze up. As it turned out, my new RAM turned up today. And I've put it in, and the thing is going like a blinder now. So I will download Windows Movie Maker and probably have to do myself a new intro. But it is screaming now. It's incredible the difference a bit of RAM can make. Cost me 25 quid, but that's £25 for something that will now last me for another couple of years, even if I don't get the other one going again. I had some trouble fitting it in, but as the actress said to the bishop, no, that's a bit saucy. Let's not go there. But I did it in the end. I managed. So yes, hope you all had a great Christmas. Thanks to someone, and I can't remember their name now, but before Christmas they tipped me off that their favourite Christmas film, which turns out to be the favourite Christmas film of quite a few of you, The Bishop's Wife, was actually being played on BBC, on sort of mainstream TV channel. And I watched it, and I can safely say I've never seen it before. I'm 63, I've been watching films for donkey's years. I've never seen that film before. I'm a big fan of David Niven and Cary Grant. No, there was no familiarity, there was no recognition. I had not seen it before. And I watched it. And I enjoyed it. In terms of my number one Christmas film, compared to It's a Wonderful Life, yeah, I'm sorry, it's a personal thing, it didn't even come close. Not for me anyway. And so on Christmas Eve I watched It's a Wonderful Life once again. It's become a bit of a tradition for me. And I watched it and I loved it and I blubbed. That to me is the ultimate Christmas film. And then it was a fairly quiet Christmas. I had my daughters over on Boxing Day. And they stayed the night and we had a lovely time. They bought me some fantastic presents because they are such thoughtful girls. Including one which I really wasn't expecting, and I was very touched by it. And now it's all over again for another year, isn't it? It comes, it goes so quickly. We're coming up at about a week or two's time to the first anniversary of the biopsy I had done, and that just does not seem possible that it can be a year since I had the biopsy done, and then like a year and 2 weeks since I had the result. That's incredible. It just, you know, the older you get, it just flashes by. So what have I been doing? As I said, I put the new RAM in this laptop. My headphones turned on, my earbuds. So now I can actually listen to videos and actually hear them quite clearly. It it didn't occur to me until after I'd ordered the earphones that, of course, nowadays you can get a little speaker that will just plug into the earphone socket and play it out loud. I'm so out of touch with this kind of stuff. And that would have been the best option. But I've got the earphones which come in handy when I'm listening to my iPod, and I might go for the little the speaker as well. That aside, not been doing an awful lot. The boy is lying down by my feet now. You probably can't hear it, but we've got the fireworks going off for New Year's Eve, and they've been going off for a few hours. So he's not a happy fella. But he'll be all right in the morning. Cheers. Other than that, I've not been doing a great deal. Watched the BBC have started a new classic series last night. I know some people don't like the BBC. I'm a big fan, so I'm not going to get into a row about it. But they started a new dramatisation of Les Miserables by Victor Hugo last night. Classic BBC, fantastic stuff. A cast of thousands, you know, mega stars, and it's really, really good. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it. In the meantime, I've been catching up on a few old books. I've mentioned before that I belong to the UK Pipe and Tobacco Club on Facebook. And a couple of months back, someone mentioned a book that I read when I was a teenager, 50 years ago. And I've read it and reread it many times when I was a teenager, never read it since. But they happened to mention it and it triggered me, so I went away and bought a copy. To reread it again. Like many teenagers of that age, I was fairly obsessed with the war. It was the Second World War. It was a fairly recent event, really. And strangely enough, I had always imagined myself as wanting to be a pilot. I've mentioned this before, that when I actually went on an aeroplane for the first time, when I was about 23, scared me shitless. I'd never be a pilot, no way. But this was the fantasy I had at the time. And so this book, Enemy Coast Ahead, by Guy Gibson, Wing Commander Guy Gibson, won the Victoria Cross, of course. He was the bomber pilot that led the Dam Busters raid. To destroy the Mearn and Ada and Lessenhove, so the salt dams in the Ruhr in Germany in 1943. And it's a fascinating book because he was a career pilot. He joined the RAF in 1936. So by the time the war broke out, he joined it just because he wanted to learn to fly. And the book documents it from the beginning of the war, his experiences in the early days of bombing Germany with handy Page Hamptons, and, you know, takes it into amazing detail, this whole stumbling process that we went through in order to reach what eventually became a major strategic bombing campaign. And it's fascinating stuff. And after a while he volunteered to transfer to Night Fighters, which was a very fledgling arm of the armed services, because of course they didn't have the technology in those days, but the Germans had switched after the Battle of Britain to launching night bombing raids, and so the night fighter service had to grow in order to deal with that threat. It's a fantastic book, absolutely amazing book, and of course it was written while the war was still on, while it was still current, and it takes you up to eventually the Dam Buster raid itself. And of course there it ends, because Guy Gibson himself was killed on active service. He was shot down over Holland in September 1944 and died. But an incredible book. And it's one, as I say, I bought when I was a teenager and read it and reread it. And that led me to think about another one that I had also bought as a teenager, but from the opposite side. And this is Heinz Noak, I Flew for the Führer. It was a German fighter pilot ace. It's effectively his diary. You have to take it as it was written at the time, because he was a committed Nazi. He was born in 1921. He was indoctrinated. To him, Nazism was the only way to be, you know. But he was still an incredibly brave man, and it's a fascinating insight into the air war from the German side of things. Oh, and I think, having said that, I'm getting a bit toasty here. My left arm's getting a bit warm. I will be uploading this one straight from the phone again, so who knows whether it'll work out or not. The funny thing is about, you know, young men and war books. I'm no tough guy, you know. And I think I've always asked myself, I've read these books and a great many others, and I've always asked myself the question that we all ask ourselves, I think, is what would I have done in that situation? Would I have been brave? Would I have been a coward? Not a coward. Would I have been so scared that I couldn't go into it? Could I kill someone else? It's a weird question to ask yourself. Because at the end of the day, these guys were just ordinary people. You know, they did what they needed to do, what they thought they needed to do. And incredible bravery. And I asked myself, would I have been able to do the same? But having said that, I better go off because the fireworks are going off. The boy is lying down by my feet. And big bang then. Cheers all. I wish you a happy new year for 2019. I hope all your dreams come true and you have a safe and peaceful one, and there we go. What else is there to say? I'd be interested to hear anyone else's views though on the whole combat thing, and what you feel that you would have done when faced with that kind of situation. In the meantime, I'm going to go off and... Oh, sorry boy. I woke him up there. wish you all a happy 2019. Ta-da.